And with that said, I would like to go ahead and bring on our presenters for today. We've got Tim Shea, who is being turned on as a presenter. Erez as a presenter. And last but not least, Ricky.
Oh, hi, Charles.
I had to get the right one. So, Ricky, you are all set as well. Yep. So
I am all set. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening.
So we have Tim Shea, the Director of Technical Alliances from Tufin here. Erez, who is the Tufin Field CTO, and Ricky Eggy, who is the North American SE Leader for Tufin. So I will go ahead and hand the show over to you, gentlemen. If anyone has any questions, let us know. Otherwise, throw them in the chat, and the show is yours, gentlemen.
Awesome. Thank you, Charles. And Erez, can you put the slides up?
Yes, I'm pulling it up. 1 second.
There's another Ricky that thought he was presenting.
You see my screen?
Yes, sir. Awesome.
Okay.
So thank you for joining, everybody. So the title of this webinar today is Smarter Security Policy Management Across Palo Alto Networks, Next Generation Firewall, Prisma Access, and XSOAR. Next slide, please. So we'll do some very quick introductions, a little bit of an overview on Tufin, and then Erez is actually going to walk through a bit of background on our customer perspective. And then most of the time is going to be spent with Ricky doing a demo of the capabilities and the support we have for the Palo Alto networks, next generation firewalls, and XSOAR and Prisma Access. You'll notice, by the way, that we're also doing a bit of a raffle. So if you stick around to the end of this event, we're going to post a URL code where you can register to win a Dungeons and Dragons Red Dragon Tail logo set, which is really cool, which is why I put in the chat I needed a lightsaber because it just seemed to fit. Next slide, please. So you know the team. This is what we look like. Let's jump to the next one. So I'm going to give you two slides with a little bit of background on Tufin. So Tufin is a 20-year-old company. We were founded in Tel Aviv in Israel by two engineers who came out of Checkpoint. We are the leader in the network security policy management space. We're the largest organization in that market. We're growing and we're profitable. Basically what we do is we abstract configurations, ACLs, the security posture out of devices like firewalls into a common platform. And our secret sauce is in our ability to normalize the way Palo describes their policies that they push to firewalls and the way other vendors describe their policies so that we can give you a complete holistic view of your network. And once you have that view of your topology, you'll see all the things that we can do with it in Ricky's demo. There are three personas or individuals inside of organizations that care about what Tufin does. Firewall administrators care about us because we help them to visualize and manage the network. Network operations cares because we help them to control and orchestrate. And then the SecOps or the InfoSec teams care because we help them to protect and remediate the network infrastructure. We sit on top of the hybrid mesh networks from all the different vendors, and we manage through a policy automation and an AI engine that we built into our product. Next slide. And while we're going, so just to give you an idea of who our customers are, we've got about 1,500 current customers globally, and we've got about 500,000 devices under management globally through this customer base. We sell into all different verticals. What's common across our customer base is not any particular vertical, but the fact that our customers typically are large, but more importantly, that they have multi-vendor networks. So they may be a Palo shop, but they might also be using Zscaler, and they might also be using cloud-native security controls. The ability to consolidate management across that environment is getting more and more challenging as we go forward. So Erez is going to take the next couple slides, and he's going to give you a perspective from the CTO. He's our field CTO, and talk a little bit about the journey that our customers have gone on. And the reason we wanted to share this with you is it'll give you context to help frame the capabilities that Ricky's going to show you in the demo and why we built those features and those capabilities into the Tufin Orchestration Suite because of what Erez is going to share with you right now. Erez?
All right, thank you. Can you hear me, Tim?
Yep.
All right, great. Thank you, Tim, for this intro. And hi everybody. Very excited to be here. Let's start right off. The content that we have prepared for you. We don't want to hold too much because we want to show you Ricky's demo. But we'll start with where we started basically. And like Tim mentioned, we've been around for quite a while, about 20 years already. And the security landscape as it was 20 years ago is very different from what it is today. Looking back at the 2000s, everything was very centralized in office network, right? There was the castle and moat kind of approach. When you are inside the organization, you're pretty much secured. You pretty much can do anything that you want to. If you're outside of the organization, you're considered untrusted, and as a result, you cannot get in. The 2010s introduced the cloud and virtualization in general in much more power into our lives, into our corporate lives, and we started to see organizations starting to embrace, technologies like VMware, NSX, Cisco ACI, and then of course the public cloud, AWS, Azure, and GCP. And that kind of dissolved the perimeter where security was started to become more or also tangible and also relevant outside of the perimeter. And going 10 years afterwards, 2020s and onwards, when of course powered by the pandemic, where we're all sent to work back at home and everybody were connected from their home offices or from remote locations, that changed the equation totally because it created another infrastructure, the edge network, that requires network security personnel like you guys another perspective to protect. So this motion is pretty much the motion that crafted and designed the way Tufin delivers security. We started back in the 2005 up until where we are today. So let's speak a little bit about technology and what that earlier in the previous slides. But when you think about it, at the early days, the main technology that was used for security were the firewalls, and the firewalls were a tangible aspect of how you make security, how you make sure that perimeter is protected from the outside. There wasn't too much thoughts about segmentation and how you could better segment different areas inside the organization. If you're outside, you were considered untrusted. If you were inside, you were trusted. Now, the cloud, as I mentioned, pretty much changed everything and dissolved this equation. We started to see concepts like virtual firewalls or cloud firewalls, especially from Palo Alto network, but not just, getting into this equation. And of course, AWS, GCP, Microsoft has also, in addition to the infrastructure they provided, they also started to provide security tools like security groups or network security groups or GCP firewalls, and then more firewalls which are based on these providers up to the equations. And organizations started to embrace them. And the 2020s, this is definitely how SASE become the major kind of infrastructure that most organizations have started to embrace. Of course, again, powered by the pandemic, as it really helped in kind of neutralizing the fact that most of the organization is connected from the outside into the office. So instead of taking all of that and go through the office down outside to the cloud, Prisma Access is a great testimonial of how you could do security without going through the on-premises. So Prisma Access, has turned into our lives, and we started to see lots of our customers starting to use that concept. But what it means is that our network and our network enterprise network has become as more complex than it has ever been, right? So we have the infrastructure, the on-premises infrastructure, usually being protected by firewalls. In some locations we also do micro-segmentations with other solutions that help us to kind of better segment specific areas inside our network, cloud, of course, and SASE. And that created a set list of different challenges for organizations, which we will highlight now, and hopefully we could show you as part of our demo how Tufin is addressing these type of challenges. Starting with the left side, lack of visibility and insights, and we're talking about visibility and insights into our security controls, right? The security tools that's supposed to help us to protect against malicious threats, against general threats that may pose a risk into our organizations, being able to understand how they are configured, being able to understand different aspects of how they are aligned, how they are calibrated, and how, God forbid, they are misconfigured, become very challenging in a world that everything is fully distributed, where you have policies that are run on your Prisma Access, that have policies that run on your cloud firewalls, and of course on your general or traditional firewalls like Panorama, PanOS, and all of these things. And misconfiguration, because you have so many tools that you need to work on, you need to configure. When you're doing it manually, obviously risk is not a matter of what, if, is a matter of when. When you will go and do this misconfiguration, this misalignment, when you are doing it in a very manual way. So the first thing that it created, that chaos, is basically lack of visibility and the ability of organizations and network security organizations to get into the deep insights that they need to run and they need to examine and sometimes mitigate. And doing it in a set list of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of rules as part of your security track is very challenging. The second aspect is preparing for audit and meeting compliance mandate. Now, most of our customers are global, complex, and most, if not all, are regulated. Be it a financial institution that needs to comply with a certain regulatory compliance like PCI, or some other NIST kind of regulatory compliance that needs to have a certain way to keep up secrets or keep up different aspects of the cars that you are processing, be it in healthcare that needs to comply with HIPAA, utilities with SOX, and so on and so forth. Of course, there are lots of regulations that organizations need to comply with. A significant part of that regulation is how you calibrate, how you design and manage and enforce and using your security tools across your realms that's supposed to have this protection layer and meet your compliance. The ability to detect misconfigurations that may jeopardize your compliance state, all the more making sure that you are not introducing new compliance violations into your security stack, is a highly challenging task, in this type of multi-infrastructure world that the enterprise network is currently living in. And of course, compliance goes hand in hand with audit and preparing for audit, making sure that you are documenting everything that changes around your network, making sure that violations of the networks are being addressed properly and immediately, and that any change that's happening in your network has this very specific address of who is responsible for that, why that change has happened, and what were the circumstances that brought you to make this change. All of this information is critical when you are preparing for audit, because this is exactly what the auditors are looking for and looking to observe. And again, making these type of things in this highly distributed infrastructure is very challenging. And one of the things that Tufin is very much specialized in is helping you preparing for audit. Last but not least is the slow time to market and high mean time to resolutions. And we're talking about it from two different aspects. The first aspect is, from efficiency and from being able to tackle the dynamic nature of the organization, where the bigger you are, the more fragmented you are, the more challenging it is to make changes inside your network. So when you think about it, when you're making changes in your network, you need to consider many things. You need to have business approval for the network changes you're about to do. You need to assess it for risk, making sure that you're not, introducing any security violations into your organizations. You need to understand exactly what you need to change along your different controls, be it a firewall, be it a SASE, Prisma Access Policy, or be it a cloud firewall or cloud security group. You need to identify exactly what you need to change in your network in order to enable a certain traffic pattern that one of your developers maybe is trying to accomplish. And of course, pushing the change down to the different controls is always a challenge. So this is one of the areas that Tufin helps with in this hybrid infrastructure, as well as helping you with mitigating threats and helping you with prioritization of different aspects and threats that may happen in your organization. So for example, if you have a vulnerability in your network and you want to determine if this vulnerability is exploitable from the internet, you want to consider your security controls that's supposed to protect you from, exploiting that vulnerability. This is exactly where Tufin, shames in and helping you with a very rapid response of whether your asset is exploitable from the internet or inside your network or not. Before I turn it into Ricky, I want on 3 areas that we focus in our innovation and our development. First thing is OPM, Open Policy Model Framework. Obviously, Tufin is a tool that integrates to so many tools, have a lots of backend work in order to make sure that our integrations work properly and accurately to all the vendors that we cover. For that, we develop our Open Policy Model Framework that basically helps us to enable support to literally any network device that is available in your security stack. If it's not already available, and most of it is already available in our stack, if it's not available, the time it will take us to build it and deliver it to your security organizations is in about months. Network discovery and network topology in general is another development that we have recently released, helping you building this topology map of your network. Is not easy. Obviously, it's requires some cooperations from your side and from our customer side to build and plug in Tufin into all of your network security devices. Well, with network discovery, we made this job easier for you, as we are the ones that are going to discover all of the network devices that you have in your network and help you to bring them in to Tufin for a fast usage of our great topology map. Last but not least is Tufin AI, which is a substantial part of our innovation, adding AI capabilities to our suite. We started off with Tufin Mate, which is a list of agents, AI agents that deliver different use cases along the organizations. One of them is helping you to address and answer network security questions at speed. For example, if your developer have an issue with connectivity and his application suddenly doesn't connect or doesn't work, Tufin AI and Tufin Mate is a great platform to kind of troubleshoot this problem, even enable that to your developer and have him or her to troubleshoot the reason or the reason of the outage with AI, and it's connected directly into our topology map. Tufin Mate for SOC, obviously, to tackle exposure, the use case that we just talked about earlier, and Tufin Mate for NetSec, which helps you to get more insight and more knowledge around how to navigate and how to operate Tufin Orchestration Suite. Last but not least, it's worth highlight, and Ricky is going to capture that as well in his demo. One of the things that Tufin is known for is our automation capabilities. We do automation for different areas of the network, from cleanup and optimization to access enablement and access decommissioning, and of course, security operations centers and risk mitigation with integration to Cortex and some other folks. This is the type of automations that Tufin is enabling different organizations, and Ricky will cover part of it in his demo. To sum up, Tufin is a tool that helps you to get better or connect between different security tools and different network equipment that you have inside your organization. So be it a firewall, be it an SDN or SASE, and you want to connect it with a designated use case to your protection and remediation area, or if you need to kind of orchestrate change in your network and make sure that your cloud and firewalls and SASE vendors are aligned within and managed from a single source of truth. This is where Tufin is located. We're enabling this type of connectivity from visualization and management, control and orchestration, and of course, protection and remediation. Without further ado, I will hand it over to Ricky to take it from here.